Welcome to NSC Fan TV. This is maybe the first of a couple year in reviews, or like year in or season in anticipation.
Season in anticipation and season in review.
Right.
Kind of setup where but also a little bit of lamentation.
We'll continue with the lamentation because
it's gonna come up.
It's a lot to get over, man.
Yeah, a lot to swallow. But I do have to say, just as a preliminary remark, I mean, to maybe anyone seeing this, maybe anyone not seeing this, but the way the players have handled it on social media, I think has been particularly graceful. I think I haven't seen a statement from any of the players who commented on it that didn't touch me in some way as a fan. So I do really appreciate that.
So that's a really interesting new, in some ways, a wrinkle to not just the play and the players and things like that. There's a whole new wrinkle of the way that players have a kind of a presence.
Yeah.
For us as fans and representatives of teams in the league.
As people, you
know
what I mean?
Oh, right. There's a human being.
We get to see, even beyond the, it's not a veneer, but the external appearance of things, and to see what do they think about it, or at least they're still maybe playing a role or putting on a show, but
it
felt very
good
personal.
Yeah,
it felt like I was like, I appreciate that. I understand the circumstances and the pressure really that was going on in those moments. So.
Yeah, and I think that after you lose a playoff game, there is a sort of a time of reflection and even kind of, and I think that every team that crashes out of the playoffs, again, we have the sort of the particular circumstances of ours, which again is one that a lot of folks comment on, but there is a kind of a mix of regret and gratitude at the same time. Hey, we made it to the playoffs. This was a good run. This was a run. This is a good season. It's a season that yielded this result, and we knew going in. We all know going into the playoffs that the odds are against us. Even if you're the favorite, the odds are against you. Why? Again, ask New England. Jeez.
I was going to say, that was my immediate thought was New England. That's the odds against you no matter what. Even if you are on the top by a good margin of how many? 20 almost points between second place and New England. But
for as disappointing as our penalty kick loss was, I mean the main story of the playoffs is New England out.
They were the absolute, by all means, favorites. Yeah. I mean, you've got their players are just lighting up the favorite of the MLS starting 11. You've got
arguably the MVP we'll still yet to find out. Arguable MVPs. So anyhow, we have a lot to that. So playoff losses are good occasions for reflection and some gratitude, and we've seen that. We've seen that with the NSC folks. But the thing is that going into the playoffs, and everyone should know this, whatever disappointment that you feel at your playoff loss needs to be tempered by the fact that you have knowledge of the fact that every time you go into the playoffs, the likelihood is that you're going to lose.
Not only that,
you're going to be playing against good teams.
Not only
in
that,
elimination games.
But the fact that you're in the playoffs is already something to be happy about.
Grateful for.
Yeah, be grateful for. I think that's right. And the odds, no matter what, are stacked against you. And it's interesting because it's just such a different dynamic than European soccer, where there's no playoff. It's just based on the table rankings. Who finishes what place. So
the race to be I think that we've mentioned this in a couple of videos that the MLS has a race, but it's a mid-table race.
It's a mid-table race.
It's a mid-table race
for the middle,
and then there's a scramble. There's then there's a kind of a upper part of the table race, which for one, which is of course the supporter shield. That itself is its own race. But then there are sort of host a playoff game races and things like that. But it really is a mid-table race.
It really is, I think we saw that, but you can collect draws and it's okay, I mean, which I'll say this too about the season.
That's what a mid-table race allows for.
It allows for going for the 1 point more often than not. But I guess I'll say there's a virtue to knowing yourself, and I think that we learned a lot about ourselves this season.
So what were some lessons that you saw?
Well, some lessons that Mukhtar can absolutely tear up everything, and his hold-up play is incredible. And that if we're lucky enough to keep him, that is going to be absolutely essential to build around.
Yeah.
I mean, that hold-up play is insane.
So hold up play, he can take the ball and he's great dribbling at folks. He's good in the air. He's good at distributing the ball. He's an assist. He's
monster.
He's great on assists.
Yeah.
He's just a good team player. He plays good defense whenever.
Which he was coming back. He needs to
maybe drop that from his game, not because of the fact that it's not good, but because of the fact that he's going to wear himself out. He's going to injure himself at some point in time. There's going to come a point, because he's a slight fella. There's going to come a point in time where it's like it's going to be August next season, and Mukhtar will have come back and like got in some sort of scramble with that Martinez, the little hardhead guy, or Souza from Atlanta, or like one of these sort of defensive-minded midfielder types who are just cheap shot artists, and they're going to hurt Hani, and he's going to be out for months. And why? Because he's a scrapper also, and that's something that's admirable, but he also needs to sort of recognize some limits. So again, too negative. This is a sort of a vice that comes out of a virtue, but we also need to recognize that seasons are long, and you have to kind of choose some battles and not stick your foot into every Tasmanian devil looking
kind of
whirlwind of feet and cleats.
Maybe we learned two things there. Not only would it be good for us to build around the fact that Haney's such a great player and just plays overall well everywhere, but that maybe we rely too much on him. Because that was a concern we both had, that if he gets hurt, because people get aggressive against him, they're trying to get the ball back, and he's so good at just taking it down the pitch. If he gets hurt, what will we do? Well, so that teaches us maybe we're too reliant on him even.
So we're recording this on the Monday after the two conference final games.
Yeah.
And in some ways, NYCFC is a sort of a perfect object lesson in what a team looks like when they lose their star player, because I have all sorts of things to say about the two conference games, but both of them just look like mid-table, mid-August games. Just slogs of mediocre soccer. And the reason why is Real Salt Lake is a mediocre team. And so, we'll leave that there. They've got one good player in Krylock, and that's about it. And he's just good.
Yeah.
And Portland had the problem with Asprilla out because of yellow accumulation, and Blanco with the hammy. And so again, that was another team where it's like you take their two best players off, and they just become a mediocre team. They've got the Chara brothers who do a lot, but they rely on them to do too much. And so Portland went from a really, really good team to a kind of a mediocre team. And New York went from a team that was really on fire to without Castellanos in the front. Yeah. They had nothing. They had no idea what to do with themselves. They were just nothing. And of course, Philadelphia is an excellent team. We know this. Philadelphia is an excellent team. But with 10 of their players out on COVID protocol, with no Bedoya, no Wagner, and Blake was out, their goalkeeper, they had to go with their third string goalkeeper. The guy, like the last sort of competitive game that guy had played was in college.
It's just like, no, I'm out. I didn't think this was gonna happen. I thought I was
gonna collect a paycheck and put on my gloves maybe. And,
I didn't know I was gonna have to show up for things.
So anyhow, I'm sorry. So I got derailed by the conference playoffs.
But I think
but the lesson was, what does a team look like without their ace?
But that's it's interesting,
and that's my worry about Nashville.
And I think to make a little comparison with football.
Yeah.
I don't know a whole lot about football. What I do know is that it's much more injury prone. Yeah. And that by this time of the season, when you're coming and looking towards the playoffs, there are going to be injuries, and you're only as good as your second, third string players. And if that's true, what does that mean for us?
How good is your bench?
I mean,
and we've got plenty of folks that when they get hot, we can really ride them. So like CJ is a sort of a perfect example where he had a really hot summer and early fall, and we found ways to highlight him and things like that.
To make his prowess in the air just work, I think, especially with
having the fact that he can pounce on defenses, and he continued to do that. He just wasn't scoring goals.
I want to say though, I wonder if I don't mean to break the string of the thought. So keep it. The thought is that we saw a way to see Sapong and see him work, but I thought when Zimmerman came back, I think we saw a drop off in aerial prowess. I'm not sure if he was picked out as like the target man for those, but I was thinking earlier, like, It's not like Sapong
That's
fell
interesting.
off, so to speak. Like he's still great in the air. He was still scoring at times, but it just wasn't at the same frequency as before Zimmerman came back.
So he wasn't the target person.
So I'm wondering if he just wasn't the target person.
That might be the case.
I mean,
Zimmerman is an excellent target person because he's got that giant wall of forehead.
He's got the slab. Just put it in, yeah.
So that seems like a good explanation. So, I mean, one of the things that I think that we saw was that our defense did have some depth. So when Zimmerman got hurt, and we called up Jack Mayer, we saw Jalil Anibaba play. We saw some folks rotating back. Alistair Johnson played in the back. I think that we had maybe 1 or 2 games where Lovitz played in the back.
And we had a lot of 4 in the back where Zimmerman wasn't a part of it. So. And I think that's right.
And so I think the depth in defense seems to be. This is not a surprise, but it's something nevertheless to remark, which is we've got the depth in the defense.
Gary Smith builds from the back.
Yeah, builds from the back.
Yeah.
And that's some good news, which is even whenever our star player in the defense comes off, we can still maintain. And the bench is deep enough for us to be able to not have as steep a drop off as what again we saw with New York City, where Castellanos comes off in the front and they just don't have any ideas, and that's a worry that I've got with Mukhtar. That a lot of the game just depends on his creativity, his pace, his being able to beat somebody one-on-one. There's just so much that depends on him, and we've got a lot of other players that contribute in this way. But the issue here is that if you take that out, what's left?
The issue, and take that out, whether it be because, we don't know if we'll have him next season, for one. But for two, playing against teams like Red Bulls with really aggressive defenders, something can happen. And then what would we do? I think Mukhtar, though, one more thing about him. Yeah. Just such a good, bridge player for plays. When it comes to build-up plays, he's just, the hold-up play is just immense, and it's really indispensable. And if we do end up not having Mukhtar next season, all I know is that somebody who can play this sort of bridge role going forward would be nice, I think.
So I think that Leal could play that role.
Yeah,
I think Leal could play that role.
Yeah. That's still true. It's not like we lose Mukhtar and then we don't have.
Yeah, it was now we have to play with 10.
Yeah, it's not like that.
But I do, but again, he is a special player, and so and there are folks that I think that could play that role. Asking to be Hani Mukhtar is another thing, but I think so. I'm going to say something might be a little controversial.
Okay.
I think that Alex Muil's I think that he's got still some growth, and I would love to see him in a role like that.
Okay.
Interesting. He has a giant. He has like a giant horse-sized heart.
He does. He can run his ball.
He can run.
Yeah.
I'd like to see some of that hustle turned into ball possession and things like that. But he's someone that I think that if we could keep him and can find a place to plug him, because right now it's just kind of like we need energy. Get out there.
Put him in on the 6th role. Put him in as a 9. It's like put him in as an. Yeah. I've never seen him put it in as 11, but I think we've seen him play the kind of almost 10.
Yeah, kind of 10 position. Spot. Yeah.
So I think you're right. I can actually see that. The only issue
see him turning into something like that.
Yeah,
given enough chances and enough consistency in this. Because this is this is where you were going.
No. I was going to just cede the floor to you. The consistency I think is key.
Yeah, I think that
you do. I don't think you do justice to players when you switch them around as much as they often are. I mean, because the problem is you look at the bench and you say, okay, we've got this many players who can play this role. We've got to do some fudging here to make things work. I agree,
right.
But for not only your own team consistency, but also a player's growth, I think it's best to have people know what they're going to do and know what they can expect in any given game. So I think if you were to consistently put Moyle in as in that kind of Mukhtar role, I think you could make it work. But here's the question. Is he taking the spot kicks?
Didn't miss a pen. So if we lose Hani, so this is all these are all wild hypothetical here. But if we lose Hani, I think that Lovitz is our spot kick taker.
I think that's right.
I think Big Lefty has got that could lock that up.
I think that's right. I think he's the natural, second when it comes to spot kicks if Mukhtar isn't there to take those.
Yeah.
Is he going to go for goal as often as Mukhtar?
Maybe not, but we'll find a head. We'll find a head.
Yeah.
So some other thoughts. And one of the funny things is that we've been thinking about the defense. It's like, look, almost every defensive setup, and even in cases where we've had folks switched out, the roles have been really clear. And so folks coming in and playing spot roles like Miller and like Washington have been able to come in, and Anibaba too, have been able to come in, and those roles are very well defined and are pretty clear, and folks can kind of come in and know exactly what to do. And again, we've got folks that can do that and can play those roles well. I feel a lot more vague as to what the roles are the further forward. Like after we get past six, after we get past our six with McCarty, it's unclear to me.
That's right.
As again, not a professional watcher of soccer and things like that, but it becomes much less clear to me what those rules are as we go forward.
They're not as defined, but also they seem almost like they just adapt to the circumstances. Because we mentioned that we do typically, if we're playing with the weird kind of like 3-5-2 that we had been running,
that's right,
we would see it drop to 5 in the back. So I think
that's right.
Insofar as 2 people on the wings are supposed to drop back. That part's maybe defined, but
and then sometimes seeing Lovitz playing like almost like a center back, and then sometimes seeing Johnston like up with the forwards.
But that even in itself is still again an argument for your point that beyond 6 I don't really know.
Yeah, beyond the 6 I don't know what the roles are.
I'm not sure.
I mean, sometimes they're a point guy, like sometimes Sapong was the point guy, and a harasser of defenses, which I thought was awesome.
I think that's right. You just want to split them up and change their focus.
Yeah, it's just like, what exactly was, whenever we were playing the MLS, the 3 in the front, or the sort of the 3 with the Mukhtar, Leal, Sapong in the front, what was Leal? Like, in particular Leal, like, I was unclear where he needed to be and what his objectives were. There were lots of times where he showed up and he was in the right place. But was that like mapped out? Was it? Did maybe it was just adapt. Like maybe you just kind of playing free. You just like look. What's your job? Be in space. What's your job? Sometimes come back and kick at the heels of it. I don't know. But
be where you should be all the right times. Like, dude, that's your job.
That's your job.
That's hard. I mean, I don't mean to make comparisons, but I feel like Fingerball kind of did something where it was like, hey,
when you have Mesut Ozil, like you can just be like, look, Mesut Ozil when he's hustling.
When he's hustling. But you have people in the right space at the right time, and then 2 seconds later they've got a goal and you don't know what happened.
Yeah.
But I don't think we tend to play that way.
Yeah, I don't think that we do a lot of dictating with the ball. So a question also. So we have some underappreciated players.
That's right. Muil's one of them.
Muil's one of them, I think. And he has had a couple shout-outs on MLS because of the tracker that tracked him putting in the most distance per minute, or most 90 or something like that.
He hauls it.
So he's the guy, that's in some ways speaks to Muil's virtues, but also to sort of my proclivities. Like I just like hustle players. I like watching them run, which again is the reason why I was complaining about Özil.
It's hard to be mad at. It's easy to be mad at Özil because he would get mopey after like not getting a chance and not seeing the ball for a few minutes.
Someone doesn't pass him the ball immediately. He's like, his slumpy shoulders.
And walks up. But Muil's not like. It's hard to hate a player like that.
It's true.
I think that's right. Sorry, I interrupted your thoughts.
I was just going to say, who are some players that you've seen who? So we talked about Zimmerman. We talked about Mukhtar. We talked about
Leal. They're appreciated.
We know they're appreciated, and we recognize the value that they add to the team because in some ways they're recognized on a national level. We recognize it every time that they have some dramatic thing that makes it onto Sports Center or is on part of a Club and Country podcast or something like that. But who are some players that sort of aren't part of that, but nevertheless are contributors that need to be valued and need to be honored?
I would say, honestly, just to name the 2. Yeah. Washington. Huge one.
It's another hustler.
I think he's a big hustler, but he's also like, if you see him come out, you're not like, oh shit, he's out. I'm not going to lie, I felt that way about, Cadiz and Loba for a while, where they get subbed on, and you're just like, damn, God, dude, now we're not gonna score.
So we're gonna save special special critical stuff to say at the end. Yeah, we have to do that.
So I say him for sure, but also Washington, but also probably well, this one might not be that controversial, but Romney, just because of how much he played. I'm not sure he got the recognition he deserved for playing as much as he did and being as consistent for the most part. Maybe that's a contradiction. As he was, right? You can count on him.
He had one bad game and he was hurt.
Yeah.
And that was the Orlando game. And that's it. Almost every other like Romney was
solid
not
defending.
Right. Solid defending. And let's also talk about one other part of his game that I just love. It's that gigantic throw-in that he's got.
Oh yeah,
it's like
a big throw. It technically is a set piece because play stopped.
Yeah, play stops.
Play stopped. The ball isn't on the pitch.
Zimmerman goes up.
Wait. And he just lofts it over and just and you're just like, whoa. You see it in person, that ball goes like
it goes a long way.
It's like 40 yards.
Does he put a spiral on it?
He's like throwing a spiral. Top
spin. Amazing.
Is he like, I don't know.
I just love that. I just love it. We get a throw in deep on in opposing territory. And like it's like getting a spot kick. It's amazing.
Everybody go down because stuff's gonna happen. Yeah. I think that's right. But so defensively, I think he's solid and we could count on him. And when it came to throw-ins, they became set pieces.
Yeah. That's significant value added.
And I don't think I heard a lot of people talking about that. Yeah. I mean, he was gonna be the Iron Man. In my heart, he's still the Iron Man.
So close. So close.
Close.
So those are two great ones, and I agree completely with them. So I think that Alistair Johnson's kind of in that, like, he's often listed as like he plays for the Canadian Nationals. That's and he had some great contributions, and he often kind of gets his but I just don't think that he gets enough recognition. I just think that he's just such a fantastic and creative and in some ways a gritty player. Like, he'll come back there and he'll be in there, and he's again kind of slightly built compared to some of the other folks that he has to mark when he plays the back spot, and so he's regularly just in this position where you're like, is he got to get out muscled? And the answer is no. Johnston finds a way.
He's smart. Yeah. I think he plays smart. I think another thing I kind of feel like he knows when to commit. And I feel like not all defenders in the MLS or a lot of leagues know when am I gonna just track my man? When am I gonna go down and just try to scoop it out?
Yeah.
And I think Johnson's pretty damn good at it.
I think that's right.
There were a couple times
he's a solid defender. He's a solid defender in a way that you don't generally expect from wings.
And he doesn't really break down, I noticed, because I can't remember what game it was, but I think there were two instances where he just kicked it out for a corner. It went down on somebody who had gotten too far on that right wing. So I think he's pretty good at that.
Yeah.
I tend to think he plays smart defensively. Yeah. But he really is it's hard to call him for Canada, he's right back.
Yeah.
But for us,
is he a right back? Is he a winger? Is he? Sometimes he played sort of right center back.
Right now, for us, he feels like just a right winger. He's just all across the wing, and it's hard to really nail him down. I mean, we had Lovitz as a left winger that one game, and then we had him as right back. I'm not gonna say that he never played right back for us. That's ridiculous. But he felt like a right winger most of the time.
Yeah, and so that's some of his versatility can kind of be up and be part of the offense when he needs to be, when he can kind of play in those winger spots. But he's also a reliable just back.
Yeah.
And so in some ways his versatility is also part of the story of Gary Smith's evolution in terms of how he's arranged the team and what kind of approach our building from the back has looked like. And so, I think that the story of Johnson's progress is also a story of Smith's progress. Those two are Smith changing how our back four, back three, and then those things have been arranged. Wouldn't have been possible without Johnston's reliable play.
The tactics have been interesting because, I think you're right. The building out of the back plus players like Johnston and Romney who are consistent in the back mean that you can go for the 4, you can go for the 3. When Zimmerman comes back, of course, he comes in for that center back role. Although he just doesn't feel like a center back sometimes because, But hey, I'm okay with that.
He's got ambitions.
He's got ambitions, so you're just like, well, we know it's going to happen, so let's just And let's just expect it,
And we didn't get burned with the ambitious play from Zimmerman this season.
No, I think I think that's right. But it means that you can, with tactics, you can be a little more, let's say, fair, because in the back it's locked down.
It's locked down.
It's fine, And then you've got Willis, who says no very often, keeping it locked down. But I think people appreciated Willis.
I think so. I think that we've kind of we've got Mukhtar and Zimmerman as the sort of the most and then I think McCarty and Willis sort of on a next level in terms of fan appreciation and media appreciation. So they've kind of been left off of my list in terms of underappreciated folks. Though I think that they maybe could use more. It's like I think everyone
throw them more.
Fantastic season for Joe Willis and fantastic mustache.
It's been growing ever since the weather got colder.
Yeah,
it was even before that.
I think it was before.
It was before that. Yeah, it was in the fall, early fall. Yeah.
But I got one other player that I think improved and really started finding places to sort of really contribute more consistently. And again, another part of the starting 11 is Hannibal Godoy. I think that so I know that we've had a handful of sort of discussions and a lot of criticism of Godoy on this channel. And I am generally someone who sees the upsides of Godoy's game and recognizes that one of the and have argued that that some of the mistakes that have come out of his game have been partly because of the fact that he puts himself into and steps into really tight situations. And we saw some of this, I think, in the Philadelphia game, where Godoy was regularly just having to jump in. It was like, he's losing these duels, but half of the reason why he loses these duels is because he's not jumping in on a 50-50 ball. He's jumping in on a 60-40 ball.
Yeah, or there's nobody else there for him to, even if he wins the ball, where does he go?
Yeah.
Kind of situations.
Yeah.
Where even if it was 50-50 at the start, it quickly becomes like, okay, there are 3 men running at you.
Yeah, now he's
kind
of trapped.
No one's around you. So
and I think that one of the other things that and part of it also had to do with the fact that I think that he and McCarty had kind of worked out that McCarty was going to really pretty much sit on top of the defense, and I think that freed up Godoy a little bit more.
I think that's right.
Later in this, as the season went on, I think that Godoy had got a little bit more freedom to kind of go up. I think that he's just such a sure tackler by my estimate.
He's a better tackler than Anunga.
Yeah.
I think that's for sure. That's one thing I'll have to say about him. Like, for all the stuff I've given Godoy, and I think he gives the ball away a lot, which we may have an explanation today for why.
I have an explanation,
but he's a better tackler than Anunga.
He's such a great tackler.
Anunga is, I think, a bit reckless. He collects yellows a lot more frequently than
he
Godoy.
does.
I still like him.
Yeah.
As like a...
I think that he... And again, we've kind of talked about like what's the future of the midfield look like for Nashville, because we have two really seasoned veterans. We'll say it this way.
We do,
right? And we've got a kind of a question as to what things look like when one of those two can't play. What's it look like? This season we saw Anunga, we saw LaGrassa coming in. Who I thought played some great spot work for Nashville. We saw Brian Anunga come in, and again, we had some critical stuff to say of his game, but I think that he brought a level of intensity.
That was my first intensity. That dude is intense.
He's got laser eyes, man.
He's also this is no, I don't know how to say this. This is no skin off Dax's back teeth. I don't know. Yeah. But he's built. Anunga is built.
He is a muscular fella.
He's built and he's taller than Dax, so he can often muscle his way through things.
So I wonder.
And against a team like Red Bulls, you need somebody who can do that.
That may be, again, because we're moving to the West, but I think that is a good kind of benchmark team, which is,
hold on, we haven't even talked about that, the moving to the West, that's huge, guys.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to, that means going up against LAFC, LA Galaxy, Sporting KC, Portland. This is insane.
You left off the Sounders.
I left off the Sounders. I didn't mention.
Yeah. But we do get to play Austin twice.
Played them once.
We already got them once this season. We get to play Austin twice. We get to play Dallas twice. But we miss out on playing Cincinnati.
We miss out on playing Atlanta.
Which is always a sure win.
Yeah. More than once at least.
Yeah, I got one. I got one win. Yeah, I got a couple ties.
I am looking forward to it, but like this, we're gonna see Gary Smith's tactics pushed to the limit probably.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. But but
we're just starting up and we're having to switch. I mean, it's
we expressed concern about the LA teams, but neither of them made the playoffs this year.
That's true. That's true. And I mean, Ibrahimovic is not banging around either.
That's right. He's gone off to Italy.
Yeah. So that actually, when I thought about it, like after seeing it, I was like, wait, Ibrahimovic isn't it?
We don't have to worry about him. Yeah.
That's a godsend. I think he's.
Don't want to have to play. Don't want to have to. So I think that if we focused, we could probably be able to shut him down for a bit.
I think that's right. If we even Ibrahimovic,
even Ibrahimovic. But Carlos Vela is still playing for. I mean, he is a fantastic player. He didn't have a great season this season, but.
But generally speaking, yeah.
So now we've come to the part where we have to sort of do some call outs of players that I think that maybe could have had better seasons.
I was about to ask my last question.
Do we want to say negative stuff?
Who fell off? I'll ask you who fell off.
Who fell off?
Who fell off? Because I thought Hackinson fell off.
Yeah, well, Luke Hack, like it's kind of hard to live up to like his
the
came on for 20 minutes and
he scored two.
I
was still thinking about that. Who fell off?
Hackinson, I think, did fall off, but I think that he's a player that's sort of that is still growing and maybe just needs more consistent chances.
Yeah.
There were games that he came on in the fall and was perfectly anonymous.
That's right. That's right.
And
you just were like,
and I was like, look, where's the guy who was good for 2 goals? Was it against Toronto?
I can't even remember.
I can't remember. He just showed up and he was like, oh my gosh, goal.
He showed up and there was magic.
Yeah.
I almost want to say, although I think Moyle's underrated, maybe he fell off because he wasn't starting in those latter season games.
It's true.
I mean, but he had started at the beginning.
So so this is maybe like a kind of a plus minus with him because I expected to see more progress from him and didn't see it. And again, maybe it's exposure, or maybe it's time, but I did expect his game to change and elevate, and it was still more a kind of a run your ass off
kind of deal where it's like you just go.
And that maybe that was his job, and you're like, look, I actually have some moves. You're like, no, your job is to run, is to be like that neighborhood dog that could only just chase the ball.
Yeah, you just run. I don't care if you got moves.
Yeah,
but
so maybe that's the case. But I agree with you. I think that Will could have had bigger upsides this season.
The elephants in the room who also could have had bigger upsides.
Okay, so let's talk about them.
So it's Cadiz and Loba.
So let's talk. Let's talk about Cadiz. Because Cadiz did have a goal at the beginning of the season and a goal at the end of the season.
But was there much else?
No.
Well,
there were lots of offsides.
That's our story. That's our story. Reporting live. When he's
John Cadiz was offside today.
Yeah. He scored a goal. Offside.
Offside.
The end of the season goal.
Coming back.
Yeah. You know, I honestly had really high expectations for him.
Yeah, me too.
And he lived up to none of them. I think whether he was starting or subbed on for like the 70th minute for like a good 20 in stoppage, there was no magic to any of the sitting around where he did. And it was often in an offside position.
Yeah. So he had the icer against Orlando.
Oh yeah.
There at the end of the season, and it was a nice goal. And he used his size to be able to sort of let the ball come over, and he kind of cut the defender off him. So his size, in some ways, is his virtue. He's just
really
tall. Big, he's tall, and he seems to know how to use it. It's just that it's so infrequent. And again, maybe it's because he's not finding the field, but it might be because of the fact that he's not finding the field because he's really slow. He doesn't seem to help.
He's totally. It's almost like he really is like, yep, I'm number 11.
I'm your 11.
I'm going to just sit
that's what I play
right here, and if you don't feed it to me, then I just won't get fed to me. It's kind of like
that's on you if I don't get the ball.
I don't get the ball, but then you give him the ball, and it's like he was like,
and he's offside or.
So and then we got.
I'm done. I'm done with Cadiz. I'm done talking about Cadiz.
Yeah, our most expensive player, most expensive bench warmer. who when he started typically disappointed us, which was only a handful, handful of times.
Very small sample
twice,
size
maybe.
for Ake Loba on that front, yeah.
And when he was coming in, like, for the end of the second half, it just consistently we saw bad touches. We saw, like, couldn't ground the ball. You know, the passing was weird. He wasn't in the right space at the right time. We saw Mukhtar to tell him where to be at a point in the season.
Yeah.
Which I'm just not sure that you can use any excuse of like having to get used to things or language when he was there for enough time. And
English doesn't help you trap the ball.
Some of this has nothing to do with like language. It's just
not a language barrier. It's like put the ball at your feet.
You need to settling the ball. I mean, I just noticed he couldn't do it very well, and he would like. It's just
Maybe it's a pressure thing. So I just keep looking for explanations. These are not exculpations. He definitely underperformed this season. But maybe the plan was, and I think that Smith had even said he showed up and he wasn't ready to play. And so maybe the plan was, look, we're going to come on. You're going to get some experience, touch the ball a little bit in this. But this is a 2-year plan.
Yeah.
And year 1 is over. Go lose some weight. Practice running.
Go lose some weight. Go get your endurance up. And then get your...
Juggle the ball a little bit. Maybe...
Yeah, that's what keep you uppy.
Keep you uppy.
No, like, he can't settle the ball. I'm convinced he can't do it. His first touches are... He had like 2 good first touches the whole time he'd ever got the ball.
Yeah.
Every time. He just would get it, and if he could have settled it well, but then it like bangs off his chest and he doesn't like... It just goes like a couple feet in front of him. It's like, well, that's right into the defender's jaw. It's their job. Like if you had settled it well, then
there were a couple times where I thought that he had the ball at his feet and he did something a little selfish, which is okay. He's a fucking forward. But nevertheless, didn't really show the skill or the talent that I would expect for someone who has got that profile and has all that. So there were a couple times he dribbled at defenders, and I was like, okay, now we're going to see the magic. He was like, nope, got kicked away. Did he step on the ball? Like,
I don't know what happened.
I was not impressed with him this season, and was regularly frustrated. And I feel frustrated because, despite the fact that we do need help in the front, I really think that having depth in the midfield. And having someone there in the like someone who's a strong 6 or a strong 8 spot, that's what we need.
That's right.
I just don't need. I just don't know if we need more forwards. But you know what? If he becomes if he transforms into a butterfly, he's in a chrysalis.
He's in a chrysalis.
And he transforms into the thing that we think that he could be.
He was a caterpillar this season.
Yeah.
Over the winter. He's
slow moving.
Crystallize.
Yeah.
And we're gonna see him emerge in the new stadium.
Yeah.
The new stadium looks great, guys.
Yeah, really looking forward to that.
Yeah.
So I might be wrong, and I'll eat my words then. But right now it looks like a failed experiment. It looks like a failed experiment.
It looks like a failed experiment. It kind of does.
Yeah.
I mean, it does. It just does. It doesn't kind of look like when it is one.
And maybe it's just because I'm impatient. You know what I mean? Where it's like, I might just be the kind of person who it's like, yeah, you put the cake in the oven, but don't keep opening the oven looking at the cake.
You let all the heat out. He's still baking.
He's still cooking, right? Leave it closed, right? It's like you can take a peek in and like turn the light on, and maybe that's what this season was. Like
he's like still rising. We already still
what's wrong with this cake? It's all soupy.
He was rising, guys. He was rising.
Leave him alone.
Fucking countertop. Why did we put him in the oven? We should have. We put him in the oven too early. We're gonna have a little biscuit.
Yeah, we're mixing up all the metaphors.
It's all together.
And it's all together. Well, still, right. So maybe we need to be more patient. Maybe this is how. But I mean, here's the other thing: is that like we know plenty of teams that bring on players that are supposed to be that are top dollar players that make the teams different the second that they show up.
They show up and it's just
they show up and you're like, yeah, that's why we spent all this fucking money, because this is somebody who knows how to play soccer. And in some ways it was like, well, we can just be like, run over there. I'll kick the ball to you. Right? It was like, it's not like he's having to like do engineering and like putting together IKEA furniture in a language he doesn't. It's like I can watch soccer in Spanish. I don't speak Spanish, but like I know what the hell they're talking about.
In fact, you'll probably start deducing what they're saying. I'm like just saying the same thing a bunch of times. Well, then too, it's like, okay, be in this space at this time, settle the ball. Like that doesn't. You can look and see. Like it doesn't. But I guess I'll say this.
I got so much frustration. It just boiled right over, friends.
In conclusion, for the negative stuff.
Yeah.
Those are that's a designated player spot.
Yeah, 2 designated
player spot.
2 designated player spots filled up with bench warmers. That is offensive.
That's offensive when, like you say, we might be better suited to look for 6s, for 8s.
For 6s or 8s.
For midfielders who can lock things down, or for people who are good transitional players.
And when that more money is pouring out to them, and we've got Alistair Johnston being paid peanuts. That's another thing. It's just that, like, look, I mean, just just for distance run.
I'll put it this way. I shouldn't even be saying this because I'm putting it out into the world. I don't mean to like manifest it, but if I was, I was gonna say work is to someone else in mind, but if I was Johnston's agent, I would say, look what you're paying him.
Yeah.
And look at who's playing, who's starting.
Yeah.
Pay him.
Pay him properly. Yeah.
Keep him on and keep him happy.
Yeah.
You know? I think in comparison, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. This guy's wearing a red maple leaf for international play and kicking people's ass.
Yeah.
Right? He's playing for the best team in CONCACAF.
Yeah.
And the person on the other wing from him, Tajon Buchanan. Like, look, I mean, he's the match for Tajon Buchanan.
It's true.
And
when it comes down to, like, it's funny to watch. Yeah, it's funny because you're like, that's who he's defending against. But it's like, that's who he's giving the ball to.
Yeah. Sometimes. Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay. Are we done?
End on a sour note.
Ending on a sour note. So let's think of something positive to talk about. Let's talk about the new stadium and about how excited we are.
The new stadium. It looks great. It looks amazing.
Oh my gosh, it looks so good.
Colors in the seats. Yeah. I'm excited.
I'm really excited. And you know, the other thing that I'm kind of pleased about is that it looks like there are lots of terraces and things like that and places for folks to kind of hang about and beforehand and things like that. So
that's good.
Having public space, so that it's not like you park your car, come in, pay. Eat something. Where? I don't know. In your seat.
There's places for people to congregate, for people to just. We get together and we do the thing, but it's not just limited to money, seat, game. Get out.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, because this is a community, and so I think that it's a good design.
And I better see y'all with the colors up.
That's
if
exactly.
You got them,
get your colors up.
You gotta have them.
That's the other part.
Although I feel naked, you know. But
well, yeah. Let's talk a little bit about like. So I have to say, I really love the anthem.
I do too.
We were sitting.
I like it.
We were sitting at the playoff game, and there were some Orlando fans in our section, and that's okay. But there were Orlando fans in our section, and they heard the anthem to start the game.
Oh, you told me.
And they were just taken with it. They were like, "That is the most touching thing I've ever seen. I've never seen anything like that." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's awesome. Like I feel we're all together. We got the colors up, and we're singing, and it is just great." And at the end, with especially, oh my God. There's something really special about it. I mean, and the only way it gets to be that is if we do that.
And it's very much I hate to do it, but I'm going to do it. The Liverpool kind of you'll never walk alone thing, where it doesn't matter if the outcome is a win, loss, or a draw. Yeah. The point of it and the spirit of the song and how you feel after it's supposed to be, and I'm not the greatest at this, but I'll never give up on you. This is my team. This is where I planted my flag.
Yeah.
This is where I'm going to be.
And, you know, I mean, I like the Liverpool analogy, and that's probably what it's inspired by. But the thing is that, I mean, I know too many Americans who are soccer fans, and you and I have talked about this because we're Arsenal fans, right?
Huge Arsenal fans.
So Drew and I are Arsenal fans. We might even talk a little bit, you know, now that NSC season over, we might just have some Arsenal.
I have to switch to the Arsenal.
We'll talk about the Arsenal stuff.
Yeah.
But like I've kind of got this attitude that if I were to go to London and catch a game, I would just be an American in a red shirt.
No, yeah, I don't know all the chants. I don't know all the like protocol. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Like I know the name of the players and like I
watched
watch
the-
it and
yeah.
I pull for that team and I like that team.
I could talk to
and I like that
somebody
team's
about
history. Yeah.
like all the stuff surrounding Arsenal, but
But are you proper Arsenal?
There's no way.
Yeah,
but
like
you
I'm
know
just
what?
an American in a red shirt.
You can be proper NSC.
Yeah.
And somebody somewhere else can't be.
Yeah,
Watching it
we're
from-
starting this here.
Yeah.
We're starting this. We're proper NSC. You know why? Because there's no NSC. There's no proper NSC without us.
Exactly.
So let's make this something good. Let's make this something together. Let's make this something social. Let's make this something that creates connections. Let's make this something that Nashville deserves.
Yeah. And you are gonna beat traffic by leaving 5 minutes.
Oh my God, the beat the
earlier when
traffic
the
argument.
starts.
Oh my gosh.
You are. I'm sorry, but you see everyone else leaving. They had the same idea. You're just creating traffic.
Yeah, you just created traffic.
So
Now
instead,
you made it somebody else has to leave earlier to beat your traffic.
let it all go. You paid for the tickets. Let it go once you hit the stadium. Man.
Yeah,
just
stick
let it
around
go
for the
for a
song.
bit. Let it go for a
Were
bit.
you
know?
were you here? Did you come to the game to then leave it early so that you could beat traffic? You know how you could beat traffic? Stay home.
If you watch
Watch on TV.
Don't pay for the. Why are you paying for
You
the
came
the
here for
ticket?
this. You came
I
here
mean,
for all this.
Unless it's like a school night, in which case you definitely watch it at home. You know, it's like.
Staying up late.
Unless it's like a late afternoon kickoff. You know. But if this is a 7 o'clock game, which they will be at the start of the season when it's hot as hell, just stay home if you can.
Or just be okay with the fact that it's like, yeah, you know what? There's coffee.
There's coffee. There's
What's
coffee.
there? It's gonna be 30 minutes. It's gonna be 30 extra minutes tops.
You aren't going to.
What are you gonna do? What
You were just creating
you're not going straight
traffic.
home?
You're
Yeah.
creating traffic for yourself. It's already, like you're saying, you're going to run into national traffic.
Yeah, you get national traffic even if you're out early.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what. Like
Yeah.
right now, I bet the streets are swamped.
Yes, right. With the party buses.
Party buses and the trailers and
Woo!
the Woo Girls and everything. I love it so much. You know? Anyway,
all right. So that was
commentary.
That was great. Yeah, it's bled out into Nashville tourist politics. All right, NSC Fan TV, the year in review.
Thanks for a great season.
Yeah, thanks for all the subscribers. Hope to see you soon.